Hi, I'm Betty. Welcome to my kitchen. With the first cool days of fall, thoughts turn to soup, back on the menu after a hot summer. Today I'm going to make one of Rick's favorite soups, potato and leek. And few soups could be simpler to make. It has 3 basic ingredients, actually 2 if you want to be a purist. Leeks, potatoes, and I add an onion to mine because I like the extra oniony flavor. So here we go. All you're going to do is give your leeks a rough chop. Actually, I'm going to slice them down the middle. And these actually look quite clean. Very often when you get leeks, they are just full of sand. And as we get down into the darker green part, you'll see that is probably true. Yep, there it is. And you do want some of that green part. I don't want too many of those tough outer leaves, but I do want this. And you can see they're quite dirty. So what I'm going to do is pop them into this bowl of cold water that I have ready. And I'll just break them up a little with my hands. They float, and what happens is, once you give them a stir, the dirt will sift to the bottom. All right, I've chopped the rest of these leeks, and I'm going to add them to the water. And just give these a good stir. Try and make sure all of that sand gets out of there. That looks pretty good, so we'll just let those sit there for another minute or two, and we'll get the rest of our ingredients ready to go. The leeks have been soaking for a few minutes, and it's important the way that you remove them. You don't just dump them out. You have to pick them out with your hands, and you'll see the reason for this in just a moment. Actually, these were not the dirty, whoops. That's just a bruise. These were not the dirtiest leeks I've ever seen. But if Rick can get the camera in, you will see there's quite an amount of sand has sunk to the bottom of this bowl. And by lifting the leeks out, that remains there. If you poured it, you'd simply be pouring it back into your leeks. So that's how to clean leeks. I've melted about a tablespoon of butter in the bottom of my soup pot here. And I'm just throwing the leeks in together with a medium onion that I've roughly chopped. The chop isn't important since this soup is going to be pureed at the end of the process. So these are going to just sit and soften for about 5 minutes, and I'm going to cover them. The leeks and onions have softened nicely, and now I'm going to add the potatoes. Again, these have just been roughly chopped. In they go. We'll give them a stir, and I'm going to add water to cover. I've got about 3 cups of water here. And I'm only going to use a little more than 2. If I need more water at the end, if the soup is too thick, I can do it then. Now I'm adding water. You could add chicken stock. Actually, this is going to need a little more to cover, so it will need the full 3 cups. There we go. You could use chicken stock, or you could use vegetable stock. At this point, I'm going to add a little salt and pepper, And this will cook for about 20 minutes, and we'll proceed from there. After about 20 minutes, check to see if the potatoes are cooked just by inserting the tip of a sharp knife. And if it goes in easily, you know it's done. So now it's time to puree it. You can, of course, do this in a food processor in small batches, but if you're a soup maker, a great thing to have is an immersion blender because it goes right in the pot. You don't have to dirty your food processor, and it goes very quickly. The soup is pretty well pureed at this point, and what I want to do now is check it for seasoning to see if we need any more salt or pepper. It tastes just right. I've always found ladles to be rather awkward, so my favorite way of serving this out is to use a 1-cup measure. So into the soup bowl. And there we are. To finish this off, I'm going to garnish it with some fried onions that I've crisped up. This was one of our favorite meals when we lived in London 20 years ago. I would have the soup ready, and when Rick was walking home from work, he passed this wonderful little store that seemed to bake fresh bread every hour on the hour. And he would bring home a wonderful fresh baguette, and this would be our supper. Some freshly baked bread, some fresh homemade soup. Doesn't get much better than that. I hope you'll enjoy. For further information and even more recipes, please visit my website.